So last month, Break Free from Plastic and its members revealed this year's top corporate plastic polluters. A total of 440 total events in 45 countries worldwide, 11,184 total volunteers, and 330,490 items of plastic waste. We want to emphasize that their impact on our planet is not just on plastic pollution, it is also a climate issue. Why? 99% of plastic comes from fossil fuels, and plastics contribute to climate change at every stage of its life cycle. Therefore, tackling climate change also means addressing the plastic pollution crisis. While corporations continue to produce plastic, the health of the people and the planet, unfortunately, especially marginalized communities, youth, continues to deteriorate as a result. The global plastic life cycle were in a country, it would be the 5th largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. Fast-moving consumer goods, or FMCGs, like this year's brand audit top corporate plastic polluters, namely Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Unilever, which, by the way, was a major COP26 sponsor, Nestle, Procter & Gamble, Mondelez International, Philip Morris International, Danone, Mars Incorporated, and Colgate-Palmolive need to tackle responsibility for the plastic pollution crisis and the climate crisis.
I found myself thinking about people like what you see on the screen, that when bigger corporations, negotiations, international negotiations talk about these things, how does it impact someone on the ground? And with that, I decided I wanted to do this story from an environmental justice point of view, to look at questions of who is polluting and who is getting impacted by that pollution, right? So in this case at Bhalswa, who are the people who are sort of working here? How do they get impacted by this plastic in both negative but also productive ways, right? So those were the sort of questions I started to think about, wanted to answer. And I think it's important when we're talking about waste, we're talking about plastic production, talking about landfill management. At the same time, it's important to also talk about how these livelihoods would be affected and what can be done to sort of help in a just transition for these livelihoods as well, which is the kind of conversations we have in other sectors, right? Like for coal and things like that. And I think it's important to talk about that here as well, because like Jed said, what do their lives look like? It's complex. They're impacted by this negatively, but this is also a source of livelihood.
We don't have any mechanisms to incentivize corporations or the consumers to trend towards the green, like the plastic alternative products have no advantage compared to plastic plastic products. So in the supermarkets, they still giving away the plastic bags because they are more convenient. If they change to paper bag, I mean, there's no difference for them, and even the companies have to pay more for that, and even the consumer have to pay more for that. And so people are not happy with the transition when they have to pay more. Changing behavior can really affect the environment, or it's just like a small effort. So I think we don't have any like markets for plastic alternative products. So it is really hard to make that transition.
A lot of the recycling industries still depend on import waste because they either cannot find waste good quality enough for industrial use because they are sorted, right? Or it's just more expensive domestically, so they sort of import the waste from outside because it's cheaper and it's more accessible. And what that means is that if we cut down the waste import directly, that it will impact a lot of industries, and a lot of industries will be, standing still, right? Because they don't have the raw materials to have their recycling industry going on. So I think the dilemma between stopping waste import and continuing industrial use of the import waste is a very interesting and a very tricky matter that we all have to find a solution going forward.
I think plastic as an issue doesn't really get covered as much in COP26 as do other issues. And whether it should or it shouldn't is maybe a conversation for a later time. But what I found was interesting was a couple of these panels that were there that talked about responsible business, right? So what are the kind of tools that businesses would need to become responsible for climate action? What are the roles they can play? What resources also they will need? And also, very interestingly, they talked about involving investors as well into this talk, not just business people. So asking investors as a group to talk to the businesses they were investing in to see if they are complying with and aligning their strategies, their business strategies with the Paris Agreement. So these were what I thought were sort of the silver linings, that there are conversations that are happening around this, because like the report also says, the break free from plastic reports, it very clearly puts the onus on corporations, bigger companies, to take the responsibility of a lot of plastic generation there is. So if we can move this conversation towards doing responsible work, I think that would be a good time for this to happen.